billion investment for innovation to help us solve how do you get carbon out of the atmosphere, and think about that both for our customers and our supply chains. So we don't have all the answers. Again, this is going to be where innovation comes from many great startups and entrepreneurs.
Technology of our time, but it's human ingenuity that makes it so powerful. Jane started losing her vision when she was 12.
California Street.
She uses Seeing AI, which enables her to read and navigate her world. Microsoft AI is helping farmers adapt to climate change.
We can use technology to help feed the world without wrecking the planet.
Enabling wildlife conservation.
The ability to use AI really democratizes science. World uses images from any source to help study endangered species.
And creating new ways for people with learning challenges to thrive.
Learning is not a one-size-fits-all process. If we make sure that every child has access, it would change the world.
This is a wonderful point in time to try to tackle more challenging pediatric problems like kids and others.
Microsoft AI is changing every industry and empowers others to create meaningful innovation that has a positive impact for all of us.
Artificial intelligence has just opened up this whole world.
The future we invent is a choice we make.
Carrie, we set out to bring that vision to life. We talked a bit about what I've learned since my son was diagnosed. At present, less than 25% of kids who enter into further higher education complete their first year. This is due to not being able to integrate the community, not having organisation skills needed, and sometimes just people not understanding what their basic needs are. What's even more terrifying is currently less than 15% of people with autism in full-time paid employment. Accessing a student's phone, it allows them to access vital information, start conversations with their peers, join groups.
4 billion people in the world right now who lack access to justice. They can't afford to speak to a lawyer, they don't understand how to solve their legal problems, and so they're faced with life-threatening problems. They can't move forward in their lives. This is Asisiti. She's a community paralegal, and her job in her community is to deal with people who have legal problems and justice problems. She has no legal education. She has taken a short course in being a paralegal, and yet she's charged with the job of helping people with their legal problems. It's very difficult to measure the work that is being done. So a donor organization in the United States has very little way to find out how much these community paralegals are working, who's fixing people's problems, and because there's no way to measure it, there's no way to fund it. So we built Baobab Connect as a platform that brings these organizations together in these chat rooms. So you have the client, the lawyer, the community paralegal, the public interest litigators all working together in these chat rooms, sharing the documents and keeping on top of the case load and the tasks that need to be done between the community paralegals and the public interest litigators, and then prove that these organizations are working, prove that every dollar spent in this organization can help a certain KPI and a certain metric in the social impact space. And that's obviously very crucial if you want to start really making a difference.
This is me and this is my name. But since I was 5, I could not say my name. Then when I was 12, I was terrified whenever I had to speak in class. Then I was 20 and I failed my dissertation or my final year because I could not say a single word. Why that happened? Because I am a person who stutters. I got great help from speech and language therapists, but the problem was that they could not be with me 24 hours a day. So I also learned that most of the speech impediments are chronic, but transformation is possible with hard work and everyday practice. So this is what I did, and now I can say my name. I am Jordi, and I am the founder of Benetton. I think I will have to wait for the end, but people like me spend, people like me cost to the US economy $160 billion a year. And there is no viable technological solution to solve this problem. That's why we created Benetalk, who has the potential to transform the life of 10% of the population. Benetalk is a personalized app, a discrete wearable. I am not going to take the whole thing. And an AI speech therapist. It helps to master fluency speaking habits during everyday life activities. Think of Fitbit for speech. We have received £300,000 from Innova UK so far, and the University of Reading is doing a clinical study about the effectiveness of Benetalk during 8 months. Our management team, each of us has 20 years of experience in our fields. I am a chartered mechanical engineer and a project manager, and represent the people that we are helping. Cristiana is a speech language therapist representing the classical solution, and John is a hardware and software developer representing the AI solution. We are 6 teams. We are a team of 6. You can find us after. And our vision is to build the most accessible and effective speech language therapy who has the potential to transform 10% of the population. We are very excited to be part of this cohort, and we are looking for investors, advisors, and anyone who would like to be part of our journey. Thank you.
My name is Marcel. I'm one of the co-founders at Chatterbox. And I first arrived in the UK as a refugee with my mum, Petunia, who's in that photo right there. She is an incredible woman. Well, at least she's my mum. But she is also a civil engineer who was one of 5 graduating from Cardiff University in her year. She also had a career that spanned the globe. She represented Afghanistan in UN Women's conferences. And when we arrived in the UK, she became unemployed for over a decade. So this huge waste of talent that we're all used to, we've sat in cabs next to surgeons, our cleaners have been doctors, some of our former teachers might be teaching students whose parents may no longer have the capability of getting back into their former careers, and who are trying as hard as possible to ensure the next generation of their families do well. And that's what happened to me. And so through my mum's story and my background in economics, and through meeting my co-founder Guillemette, I have hoped to create a solution that can impact people like my mum today. A population that consists of over 60 million people worldwide, a record number of refugees globally. And we believe that the solution to their unemployment resides in the online economy. Already fast, we all know it's growing fast, and it has a home for everyone, including refugees. Now, Guillemotte's work in the past over the past decade has involved building global digital marketplaces, and that's what we're doing for Chatterbox. We're building a platform akin to Upwork, Andela, and even Uber. We've been inspired by these platforms to create a home for globally displaced talent. And this is what the platform looks like today. First and foremost, for displaced people, it provides rewarding online work that is suited to their skill level and is suited to their interests and prior professional backgrounds. So what this means is that our matching algorithm can match former doctors with work that directly relates to their profession, their interests, and I'll explain how in a second. Second, this work platform is a bit different to Upwork because the data that we collect actually has a relevance in the real world. We can turn this into references that help people get into higher education, that can help them get into further work outside of the platform, and help them progress on the platform.
New relationship.
Meeting different people from different backgrounds.
Learning much more about the English, yeah.
And also it helps me to improve my communication skills.
They make me happy and make me proud.
I have a job. Before each session, I'm really excited to go.
It gives us sense of integration.
My teaching skills as well getting better.
See a lot of students talking my language.
Chatterbox is
For me, I consider it as a lifter.
I think that was really good for my future profession because I would like to be a professor at the uni.
Not only teaching, I'm learning as well at the same time.
And you must be familiar with this. You book your room, you turn up, and the room is freezing cold. Or the opposite, it's very, very hot, so you waste time looking for a thermostat, looking for a facilities manager, then you just give up and you open the windows even though you know that you are wasting energy. And you would think that in the 21st century, controlling the temperature should be as easy as using your mobile phone. But the technology was missing. And what was even more shocking is the numbers. 39% of our carbon dioxide emission is coming from our buildings, and it's expected to reach 50% by 2030. This is more carbon dioxide than the CO2 coming from agriculture or transportation. Our home institute alone created 78,000 tons of carbon dioxide last year, by spending more than 12 million pounds on the energy bills. What's more, 70% of the rooms were empty, which means 40% of this energy was wasted. And this is a very common problem of education institutes, hotels, hospitals, and office buildings. So we wanted to come up with a solution addressing all these three issues of pollution, cost, and wasted energy. And the solution is simple. Stop heating empty rooms. If you have 70% of your rooms empty, you need to find those which are in use and provide heating for those areas only. To do that, we created a cloud-based platform that we call EcoSync. We start with the room booking system, because commercial buildings already have one with lots of information on occupancy. Then those areas not in your room booking system, like your private office or shared office, you add their own hardware-free occupancy detection technology. When you integrate these two, you get real-time information on occupancy that you can use to preset the temperature of the right rooms by controlling individual heating units. Then we hand the control back to the building users in an easy-to-use mobile app form. And when you integrate all these technologies in your building, you get responsive heated zones and you can save them 40% of energy. So let's take this lovely listed building of Lady Margaret Hall, a very typical student accommodation building, heated 24/7. And the occupancy can drop from 100% to 5% overnight, for example, at the beginning of the weekend. This was their heating profile. Whenever the weather was cold, energy consumption went up. If you want to reduce that, you can refurbish the building, you get new windows, you can reduce the heat loss, but you are still heating your empty rooms. So our approach is different. We make sure that heating is linked to occupancy. So this way, whenever occupancy drops in the building, energy consumption will go down. And this way we saved 66% of the gas bill in December last year. But can we do even more?
Yes is the answer. We can. How do we do it? We do it by building smart machines. That's what I'm going to tell you. As I learned yesterday, AI is done on PowerPoint. Is that right, Pratim? So that's what I'm going to do. Just give you a quick overview of how we do it. It's fairly simple. We use a form of machine learning that doesn't require a lot of data. Okay, so these two forms, supervised and unsupervised, require data, and the one we use doesn't. It's called reinforcement learning. It works in 4 simple steps. We have an agent or a program that will control the temperature in the building you're in. For example, this building. It takes some actions, which will be like reduce the temperature or increase it of any particular one in a given room. Based on that, it'll change the environmental temperature, which will be the temperature in the building, and it gets rewarded based on whether it makes the right decision, which is, can you minimize the energy consumption while maintaining a temperature? If you do this many, many times, we get a program that is very smart and can control the heating automatically and minimize the energy consumption and CO2 emissions. So we have external data sources such as room booking systems, sensors, simulations, which go into our model, and then that gives you very tangible predictions, whether you want to increase or decrease the temperature. In our simulations, we have shown that this can reduce the energy by a further 25% than what we could already do. So we are really excited to come and join this program and make our product scalable and deployed across the UK and abroad. So that's our vision, and please come talk to us and help us with it. Thank you.
I'm the founder and CEO of Good Boost, and my background is as a musculoskeletal health researcher. And musculoskeletal is an umbrella term for a wide range of disorders, from shoulder injuries to low back pain to knee arthritis to inflammatory hip conditions and everything in between. It's the primary cause of disability in the UK and has a huge impact on the UK health system. So it accounts for 18 million people in the UK, adds up to around 2 in 5 of every GP appointments, and accounts for a £5 billion bill to the NHS. On top of that, it accounts for 40% of work sick numbers. This is a real problem. This isn't just a bit of back pain, this is a real societal problem. So we need to find better ways to prevent, treat and manage MSK conditions, and we know that exercise really does work. It's both clinically effective and cost effective, but it doesn't mean that people do it. There are many barriers to being active if you have an MSK condition, by being because of pain, poor motivation, really poor attendance, inactivity of age, limited number of physiotherapists to deliver the community services we deeply need. And this is why someone like Frank's important. So Frank was one of my patients, was in Oxford, and he was sent to me, and he was told by his GP to be more physically active. But when Frank went to sit down, you could hear the creaking in the knees across the room, and an audible "oh" because it was so painful. Frank was not going to put a leotard on and start doing dancing. That was not for him. So I invited Frank to come to our local swimming pool, and he gave it a shot. He came along, did some movements, felt the benefits, and over time he brought his wife along. He brought her friend along, he brought a friend along, and a friend along. Before we knew it, we had a regular weekly group session at the local community swimming pool. As a team of healthcare professionals back then, it was all done on laminated cards and clipboards, and we had to figure out how we could grow this to support more people like Frank. And as we started to look at technology. So what we do at Good Boost is we have developed a rehabilitation app that uses digital clinical thinking on a water tablet computer. The reason we work in water is because it's low pain as an environment and it supports people who can be active on that. So participants will come into the leisure centre, who will be provided with a water tablet, they'll complete their assessment, those numbers are sent to our knowledge map, they'll then crack the numbers and select the most appropriate exercise for them based on their ability, condition or needs. They'll then take that waterproof tablet into the water, follow their exercises on there, provide feedback, back into our engine, so that every week when they come along they get a continually adapted and evolving programme designed just around them and their rehab. So it helps people like Harry, who's had 3 knee replacements in the last 10 years. That means that he can walk more confidently. Also, he lives alone, and so coming along gives us the sprite every morning to come meet the other participants. People like John, who has an inflammatory back condition called ankylosing spondylitis. He's had it for multiple decades. He's now reduced his pain medication and is sleeping better. People like Tom, who improved his flexibility of his spine, stopped his pain in his hip and his knee, and just the simple practicality of being able to do his own shoelace up now. And people like Ida, who regained strength and endurance in her legs and now has the power to walk upstairs which she couldn't before. What technology can do is transform pools into therapeutic spaces. So what we do is we created individually tailored rehabilitation exercises on a waterproof tablet that's been designed by MSK and aquatic experts, where we train the staff and volunteers in swimming pools, just like Zumba, so they can deliver a health program. We improve pain, function and quality of life to deliver low-cost sessions that are locally available. And we're a team of clinicians, researchers and engineers, and we create measurable health impact. And we relay that back to the pool so they can see the impact they're having in their local community.
Hello Lamppost is a playful public engagement platform. What that means is we're overlaying our software onto existing street infrastructure to allow anyone on any street to have a text-based conversation with any object in that street. It may sound crazy, but bear with me, I'll explain. We are aiming to be the communication interface between the public realm and its end user, us. So let me explain. We all move through areas of cities and our towns and past objects, and we all have thoughts and opinions and stories and memories that are triggered in our minds, but they're never actually left anywhere or shared with anyone. And I'm the same. I leave home, I go to work, I see a construction site, I wonder what's happening there, I want to have an influence. I see a statue or a point of interest and I want to know its history, I want to know about it, but it's locked in that location or locked in my mind. So what we're doing is we're better utilising existing infrastructure to unlock those opinions and unlock those stories and unlock that knowledge. So for instance, this chap in the Olympic Park has utilised the existing maintenance code as that hyperlocal reference point to interact with that object. So how it works, it's completely freeform. All we do is overlay our software onto existing infrastructure, and anyone is able to pick an object, speak to it with their mobile phone, interact with it, and have a two-way conversation. So what that means, because it's two-way, they're able to extract information about cultural points of interest, about what's happening in the area, what plans the council have, but also feedback on their opinions, their ideas, and their memories. So as I say, it's on their existing mobile phone, so it's used through platforms such as SMS, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, and a web browser, so there's no third-party app to download. But because it's two-way, as I say, it's a playful conversation. The object is able to give hyperlocal information about the area, council's plans, and also playful conversation about the object itself. So for instance, a parking meter might have more of a suspicious personality, and a lamppost might say, I'm pretty tall, I can see a long way, what's the furthest thing? So what's the point? So we worked with a number of cities around the world on a number of different use cases, but essentially we're trying to bridge the gap between the city decision makers and its end user. 80% in the UK alone, people feel that they don't have an influence on the decisions that are made about their community. And I'm the same. And on the flip side, cities are being created, urban environments are being created that don't properly align with the true wants and needs of the communities. And we're trying to unlock that. So as I say, we've worked with cities around the world on anything from participatory budgeting to cultural placemaking. To give you a brief example, very simple example, in Austin, they wanted to know the kind of top concerns from their community in the city. So objects might ask questions like, if you were the mayor of Austin, what would you change about it? And the top thing over a period of time was public transport.
I'd like to share my story with you. In 2015, I lost my grandmother from a fall. She lived alone at home, and it took several hours for help to arrive. During those hours, she stayed on the cold floor in sheer pain and agony. In 2018, I had to quit my job to look after my dad, who developed dementia. I lost him 6 months later. His last word was, "I'll be fine, make me proud." Like me, there are millions of people in the UK alone that go through the same thing. Some fall, and it takes much longer to be found, and for some, it's too late. And this is why I dedicated my life to change that. The pain I went through, nobody should go through that pain. And this is why I created My Care with one simple purpose: to give the elderly the choice to live independently in their own home and to connect them to their family and to their local community. Yes, if Doris has had a fall, we get Norman, the next door neighbor, to come and see her. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and in some instances, it doesn't cost anything to anybody. Norman likes to help Doris. I couldn't have done this on my own. I've got an amazing team, and some are here today. And between us, we cover healthcare, we cover AI, we cover retail, and we cover tech. And one of them even left Microsoft after 18 years to join us. So this is how our cause is attracting great talents. And we do this through MyQ. We're working with the NHS, and they call MyQ Alexa for the elderly. But I know many of you here would like it to be called Cortana for the elderly. Let's talk afterwards. We're already transforming lives. We're working very closely with the NHS. And we feel Microsoft is giving us the opportunity to do much, much more and to fulfill our dream, our purpose. Let me share that with you. We want to transform the lives of 1 billion people on this planet. Let the magic begin. Thank you.
Everyone, it's great to be here. A number of years ago, I took a tube journey on the Piccadilly line to Cockfosters at the end of the line. I got off the train there, everyone was filing out, I turned around, went against them, walked to the end of the platform. I was waiting for the next train coming in, because I was going to throw myself in front of him. Now I didn't, because I had to catch the eyes of the driver. And he looked at me, I looked at him, I couldn't do it. Went outside, threw up instead, got some help. I'm not alone. According to the World Health Organization, almost 1 billion people saw a health practitioner with a mental health problem in 2017. According to the same organization, by 2030, this is going to cost $16 trillion. Lots of zeros, lots of pain. Now the funny thing is, I've worked for over 40 years in healthcare, most of that in mental health care. I've probably worked on most of the antidepressants that are available to you today. And the problem with those antidepressants is that you have to wait till you're very ill before you can take them. You can't take them to prevent depression, you can't take them to build your mental resilience. So you have to be very ill, sometimes that's too late. I was doing some research on another occasion, and I came across this MRI scan of why someone was playing a computer game. You see those red dots? That's an indication of extra blood flow going to an area to stimulate, exercise that area, to strengthen that area. And it sowed the seed in my mind that if we could take that, we could do something with it. So what have we done with it? Well, we built a platform. We built a platform whereby we can assess your brain health using MyCQ. You get great reports from that. It's linked to AquaSnap, a training program, which trains you in all the 5 domains that we measure, but trains more intensely for you in those domains where you need the greatest help. So it's personalised training. It's like physio for the mind. And you do that 15 minutes a day for 1 to 3 months. We then take you out to do some habits. So once you're in a better state, you can do some healthy habits. Now the thing is, you can download that today. You can download that on your iPhone, iPad, tablet, you can do it on your desktop, laptop. So it's available to all of you. So you'd be mad not to download this, wouldn't you? Thank you. Good luck, you. So what have we done with it? So what do we want to do with it? So one of the areas we're working in is, did you know that by the age of 14, 50% of mental illnesses will have emerged? In fact, by the age of 25, 75% of mental illnesses will emerge. They won't have been diagnosed in many cases, they won't have been treated, they won't have been prevented. We can work with them. By tracking people early in their lives, we can see is their cognition in a good state, and we can fix it if it isn't. Just by 15 minutes a day, 1 term of their life at school. So what sort of success have we had? Well, the NHS is using us because of the clinical trials that we've done. Orca, the world's biggest review of health apps, they've given us one of their highest settings. Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, we were CE marked as a Class 1A device. UCL, they've given us 2 awards for research that we've done in education. Bill and Melinda Gates love us. Haven't given us any money yet, but they've written a fantastic report about us. Now where we're going with this is that for all that we've done in all of those areas, we've not touched AI yet. So we are super excited to be here, have access to the expertise, the machine learning, all of that's going to do for us. Already we're doing great things. Imagine what we can do with this on top. It'll be amazing. It's going to be an amazing journey. So, yeah, I'm here. I'm Kieran Sparrow with My Cognition. I'm just 1 in a billion. I'm not unique. But what we're doing as a team together is unique, is innovative. Please join us on our journey. Thank you.
It's Arshad. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called Oxigrid. In Oxigrid, we firmly believe that every person in the world should have access to cheap, clean, and consistent electricity. However, it's getting harder and harder for electricity companies to do so. And there are 3 reasons why this is happening. The first one is the fact that the grid was set up over 100 years ago, so it's rapidly aging. The second is the fact that distributed energy resources such as solar and wind are very hard to integrate into the existing grid network because being very very inconsistent. And the third thing is the demand for electricity is growing continuously with more and more EVs getting connected to the grid, and at the same time, over 1 billion people globally still don't have access to electricity. So we don't want people to use less electricity and be worried about how much energy they consume. We want to enable people to use electricity at an affordable price, anytime and anywhere.
This is a water bottle, and by this evening, one of you will have drunk it, and it will end up in a bin. About tomorrow morning, you will reach this large-scale waste facility far outside London, where machines will try and sort it out. But the machines will make loads of mistakes, and so the plant will still rely on about 50 to 90 manual pickers to remove it, costing them about £3.6 million every single year. These conditions are horrible. The workers are exposed to hazardous waste, and it's so shit that half of them will quit within 6 months. This also forces the facility to operate at a reduced capacity and constantly invest in training new staff. At Recycli, we have developed a smart camera that replicates human vision. And by combining it with ultra-low-cost robotics, are delivering the world's first fully automated material recovery facility. What does this mean? This means that we're eliminating the largest 3 costs associated with the industry. The first being our automation removing manual picking. The second being having successfully scaled down a large facility down to container size means that our system can now be retrofitted into currently unused bin storage rooms, which are found in pretty much every large commercial building. Lastly, because our system can be placed much closer to the source of waste generation rather than far outside the city, we can significantly cut down on transportation. But it's not stopping there. Our plants can also be delivered within 1 month. Compare that to the 8 years it can take to plan, build, negotiate waste contracts to build a huge-scale facility. Moreover, we're providing item-level passport logs of all items in the waste stream, enabling 24/7 waste auditing. Now is the time. Waste production is going to increase 70% by 2030, whilst at the same time our ability to deal with it is actually decreasing, predominantly due to regulatory changes. Especially in China, for example, they just banned the export of waste from the UK, where we used to export 50% of it to the country. Now, today, the world generates about 2 trillion worth of material every single year, of which only 8% is currently recycled. So this isn't only a tragedy for our environment, it's also a massive economic opportunity. Waste is going to become a huge new market. The team's been working hard over the past 4 months by significantly de-risking the product. We've developed a computer vision system that is able to classify every single item in a waste stream on both the brand and material level. The vision hardware, a database of almost 1 million labeled images, both in a laboratory and facility setting, tested about 50 different drippers, and this means that the last thing we need to do is simply assembling all those component parts and adding the bottles. In terms of deployment, we've secured traction from 4 of the 5 largest waste facility operators in the UK. I started version 1 of the Recycli system whilst doing PhD research at Imperial College London. Now, knowing I couldn't do it alone, I basically asked all of my friends who the biggest geek was they knew, and it turned out it was Peter, who since then joined me and is really pushing the computer vision system forward. We've been surrounding ourselves by people that can really challenge us. Jeff Cooper knows everyone in the industry. Having been the former president of the International Solid Waste Association, Bernd successfully sold his startup about 5 months ago and is advising us on the business side. And Chris is a leading academic in the field of waste management. Now, I am tremendously excited to finally move out of Peter's garage, which is a battlefield with a good meter of waste at the moment, and join Microsoft AI for Good.
There's a lot I don't know, and 4 years ago, here's a really important thing.
that I didn't know. This is because I didn't have deaf friends, I didn't have deaf family, it wasn't part of deaf culture, and I didn't sign. And I remember the moment somebody from a deaf charity explains what it means to identify as deaf with a big D, which means you're likely to have been born deaf, maybe with deaf parents, and British Sign Language, BSL, is your first language, and English potentially is a second. And then the real kicker that shocked me, and I felt embarrassed I didn't know this, is that because educational provision can be poorer for that community, literacy levels can be way lower. And so the bottom line is that for some or many deaf sign language users, English, written English that you and I take for granted, can be impenetrable. And that's largely because of the barriers that hearing organisations have put up. And it struck me as a technologist that if you look at blind and visually impaired people, so much good stuff has been done. Screen readers are ubiquitous. Things like Microsoft Seeing AI, internal wayfinding, as well as braille and audio description. All these sorts of assistive tech. But actually what's been done for deaf sign language users? We do have video relay where you can bring an interpreter into a room on an iPad or screen, but that was invented in 1968. Hardly cutting edge. So the reality is that if you're a deaf sign language user, like Tim, you're going to be reliant to, in some measure, on friends and family to help you navigate the world we live in. These complex volumes of English that even if you're hearing reasonably well educated, we all struggle with, trying to do your banking with terms and conditions. But it means you have to, if you're deaf, potentially rely on friends and family to help you translate this, which is embarrassing. So if you're in a financial model, you might not want to do that. Or healthcare issues where you need an interpreter. Again, you've got to relay personal details to the GP via someone else. So there's a kind of massive barrier there. And I thought, well, what can we do? Lloyds Bank shared a common interest in a little kind of prototype that we did for a deaf charity, got coverage on BBC. It's like a happy accident, if I'm honest. And Lloyds picked up the phone. And we worked with Lloyds deaf customers who explained the scenario that I briefly outlined. And they said, well, why can't you just add sign language to web pages online? So Lloyds looked at me and said, can you? And I said, probably. And that's what we did last year. We spent 6 months researching and talking to deaf customers and 6 months building out the browser extension on Microsoft Azure. And we launched in December, and it's a world first because it means that potentially any organisation can add any sign language to any website, and users can just click around and self-serve and just research that basic sort of fundamental level of information. In this case, it's banking, but potentially could be applied to healthcare and education and all these other things. So we are incredibly grateful to Microsoft for their support thus far with the startup program, but to be honest, this program is even better to help amplify that. Yeah, we need to scale the idea because it does have potential. It's just one step in a whole series of changes that needs to happen, but to have a basic level of information available in sign language is a step forward. So if you think you can help, come talk to me afterwards and we will steal a beer together from the front.
Her favorite color like the stars.